Hey everybody, I hope you guys are safe and healthy. So today Huawei launched the P40 series. I have here on me the P40 Pro. I've been testing for about a day and a half. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to do a camera test comparing the Huawei P40 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. I'm comparing these two specifically because they are the two biggest smartphone brands in the world by market share. I think Apple's number 3, or maybe Apple is now number 2 and this is number 3. But either way, two of the top 3, and they both have very similar camera modules with a periscope zoom lens and a main camera that uses a really large image sensor size. I believe this one has a 1/1.3 inch. This has a 1/1.28 inch. And just for the sake of reference, I'm also going to bring in the iPhone 11 Pro Max and just compare samples between all three of these phones. So anyway, without further ado, let's begin. Okay, so I've split the comparison into 8 different categories. So we'll begin with the most basic category, which is a 1x daytime image capture under good daylight. So this is just about the most basic shot possible. So this is the P40 Pro on the left, Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra in the middle, and the iPhone 11 Pro on the right. So first things first, right off the bat, you'll see that the color temperature is different between how Huawei does it and the other two phones. Huawei's image tends to be a little bit on the warmer side, and colors are slightly dull compared to on the S20 Ultra and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. But then let's go into actual size. So we're going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm starting to see a little bit of noise in the iPhone 11 Pro's image, and the dynamic range is not so good. And I'm starting to see a little bit of noise right here in the iPhone 11 Pro's image. Okay, now we'll zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, you see that the iPhone's image, just because it has the lowest megapixel count of 3, you cannot zoom in that close without seeing pixelation. Even the S20 Ultra has a little bit of pixelation too, because even though it's a 108 megapixel sensor, it's shooting 12 megapixel shots after pixel binning. So the P40 Pro, a little bit of pixelation too, but overall it's probably the sharpest of the 3 if you really want to crop in like 200%. But overall, all 3 shots are really good, but that's to be expected. This is like the most basic situation right here. Okay, now we go on to the second test, which is wide angle camera during the day. So once again, the S20 Pro struggles with dynamic range. Like, look at the bottom of the picture, is just completely drenched in shadows. I guess you can argue this makes for a more moody picture with better atmosphere, but I disagree. I'd rather have a better lit picture. And you see the iPhone 11 Pro's wide angle camera, you can't really zoom in much at all. The details here are already very soft and very blurry, whereas on the P40 Pro, it has a 40 megapixel wide angle camera, so you can zoom in a little bit more and image integrity stays relatively consistent. It's still not as good as the main camera, but at least it's closer than the other two phones right here. And you notice that the iPhone 11 Pro and the S20 Ultra has a much wider field of vision than the P40 Pro. The P40 Pro's wide angle camera is just like the Mate 30 Pro in that it's just narrower than the other wide angle cameras we're used to. But to that end, you get a much more detailed shot. Now let's look at the third test. This is daytime zoom. So obviously the iPhone 11 is going to lose here because it does not have a dedicated periscope zoom lens, and the iPhone 11 cannot zoom past 10 times anyway. So we have the Huawei P40 Pro. This is 10 times zoom right here. S20 Ultra, iPhone 11 Pro. So yeah, the iPhone 11 loses the 10x pretty easily. In fact, let's just get the iPhone out of the way right now. The iPhone just cannot compete in any zoom images. Let's just compare P40 against the S20 Ultra. So both of these are really sharp, really damn good 10x images. Let's go into actual size. So I think the Huawei P40 Pro's image here is a little bit sharper than the S20 Ultra in 10x. So by the way, this spa right here, it's one of those shady spas in Hong Kong where it's usually men that go, and then they can pick from like a room full of women to massage them after they get the saunas. If you watch Rush Hour 2, remember that scene with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker when they went into the sauna and they got to pick from all the women? Basically, this is one of those. Now let's go on to 50x zoom, which is the max that the P40 Pro can go. So I'm gonna zoom all the way across the street to that bus stop sign. So yeah, both of these are pretty blurry, and I guess if I have to pick a winner, the S20 Ultra's image on the right wins because it at least kept the color of the sign right here, whereas the P40 Pro loses a lot of image integrity. But really, just the fact that you can zoom all the way across the street to get something like this is pretty useful. Now, I know that these images are not something you can post on social media, but if I want to see what bus is across the street, I can see that, oh, it's the 973. So both of these are pretty cool. But of course, the S20 Ultra can go even further into 100x. So right here is the 100x, so pretty messy, but you can still read the number, the bus number, so that's cool. Now, 50x is extreme. Let's do something a little bit more reasonable, 20x zoom. So we have the Huawei 20x zoom right here, and the S20 Ultra 20x zoom. Both of these are really clean, impressive images. I think S20 Ultra is probably slightly sharper, just by a tad, by a hair, but really for a 20x image, both of these are really good. I must say the P40 Pro's colors are more accurate. The S20 Ultra did some processing here. The tree in real life looked like the P40 Pro's color. Now let's begin the challenging situations. Let's go to wide angle images captured at night. So remember in the previous daytime examples, the iPhone 11's wide angle image lost a lot of image details. It's going to be the same story here. So just looking at all three images when they're shrunken down, I think the S20 Ultra in the middle captured the best looking shot. You notice the P40 Pro overexposes the lights just a little bit right here. It's not too bad, but it's slightly overexposed. S20 Ultra got the balance right, whereas the iPhone 11 has this really weird warm yellowish tone. Now I gotta say, the iPhone 11 is actually the most accurate colors. That's how the scene looked in real life. But I like what S20 did with the processing. It cooled it a little bit and just makes it pop off the screen more. Like this, if I'm posting these to Instagram, I think S20 Ultra has the best looking shot. But you see the iPhone 11 Pro, look at how soft the details are when you zoom in, because the wide angle camera of the iPhone 11 Pro just does not have enough pixels and the sensor size is not large enough. The S20 Ultra keeps up pretty well, but ultimately they both lose to the Huawei P40 Pro. If keeping image integrity in a wide angle image is of most importance to you, then again the P40 Pro has the best wide angle camera right now. So next up, we're going to do a pitch black test. So what I did is I turned off all the lights in my living room and I'm going to take 2 sets of photos of all 3 phones. So the first set, I'm not going to turn on night mode at all. I'm just going to shoot a standard 1x photo in pitch black conditions. Like my eyes can't even see anything right now. And as you can see, it is not even close. The Huawei P40 Pro managed to pull light out of literally nowhere for an image that it's a little bit blurry, but you can actually see what's on my kitchen counter right now. I mean, it's a little bit messy, sorry for that, but you can see what's on the kitchen counter and what's on my fridge. The S20 Ultra, this is almost all black. iPhone 11 Pro, this is almost all black. Now, if you're wondering how the Huawei P40 Pro is able to do something so much better than the other 2 phones, is because the P40 Pro's main camera uses an RYYB sensor that's custom built by Huawei, and it's a lot more light sensitive than the RGB sensors used in the other 2 phones. And on top of that, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the P40 Pro has, along with the S20 Ultra, the largest image sensor in smartphones right now, 1/1.28 inches. Now, both of these image sensors are about the same, but because the S20 Ultra has to use the image sensor across 108 million pixels, whereas the S20 Ultra only has to use it across 50 million pixels, that means there's a lot more light information to go around. The iPhone 11 Pro's image sensor is really tiny. It's like half the size as these 2 other phones, so that's what we get. Okay, so next up, these are images captured in the same situation with night mode on. So surprisingly, the P40 Pro's image actually looks worse with night mode than without night mode. This is actually not as bright and is even blurrier, but it's still a better lit photo than the S20 Ultra and the iPhone 11 Pro. But at least now the S20 Ultra, with the help of night mode, you can actually see a little bit of what's on my kitchen counter. Whereas the iPhone 11 Pro, still completely blurry and just no details at all. But this is really interesting. So with the Huawei P40 Pro, you almost don't need to use night mode in extreme situations, because on the right it's a P40 Pro in auto mode, right here is night mode, and the auto mode is actually the better picture. But of course, most people are not going to be taking photos in complete pitch black situations. That's a very niche, almost gimmicky situation. So we'll do another test in just standard low light. So right here, I'm going to walk into a dark alley in Hong Kong and just snap photos with all three phones. So right here, you'll see that the gap between all three phones are a little bit closer. It's not like the P40 Pro just... So right here, you see that even though the P40 Pro wins again in terms of pulling light and details, at least the gap is closer this time around. It's not like the other two phones are completely black images, but the P40 Pro's RYYB sensor, it's just legit. I mean, look at how much light it's pulled in compared to on the S20 Ultra shot. Let's go in closer, actual size. So yeah, not only is the P40 Pro's image brighter, it is sharper too. So next up, let's look at nighttime video. So all three of these are 1080p 30 video. So we have the P40 Pro here on the left, S20 Ultra in the middle, and iPhone 11 Pro on the right. So right away, you can see that the iPhone 11 Pro is still the king of video. Stabilization is just a lot better. Look at the other two phones in the middle and on the left. There's a lot of micro jitteriness as I walk. Whereas on the iPhone 11 Pro, it's not fully stable, but at least it's not shaking with every step I take. So we'll play it again. So iPhone 11 Pro on the right, P40 Pro on the left. Apple wins with the stabilization. And the P40 Pro struggles with exposure. You notice the lights in the back down the street are overexposed compared to the S20 Ultra and on the iPhone 11 Pro. Okay, and then the final test, we have selfie portrait. So I usually don't like taking selfies, but I'm gonna take one just for you guys. So yeah, I'm wearing the visor because Hong Kong would not lock down. People are still out and about. So I'm just taking extra precautions by having 2 layers to cover my mouth and face and nose. So surprisingly, I thought the iPhone will win selfies because it usually does, but the iPhone did pretty bad right here. Look at the edge detection around my hair. It's a complete mess. It messed up the edge detection a little bit, and it messed up the edge detection really bad right here around my visor. Whereas on the other two phones, edge detection's on point, especially the P40 Pro. Look at the edge detection around my hair right here. It's pretty good. On the S20 Ultra, it's good too, but not as good as the P40 Pro, and then on the iPhone 11 Pro, a mess. So overall, I think I preferred the Huawei P40 Pro selfies of the 3, which I totally did not expect. I thought the iPhone was going to win the selfie big time, but that appears not to be the case. Okay, so that's about it for this camera test. I think all 3 cameras are really damn good. It really depends on what you want. The iPhone's obviously still the best video camera. The Huawei P40 Pro is the best in low light conditions, and I think the S20 Ultra may just be the best well-rounded overall. But then the S20 Ultra also has focusing issues, so yeah, it's tough to decide a clear-cut winner. There is no clear-cut winner. But I do want to say that the P40 Pro model I'm testing is a pre-production model, so it's not a final unit. I'm definitely gonna do a full review of the retail unit sometime next week, and then I'll be back with more on the P40 Pro. If you're interested in content like this, please subscribe to my channel or follow me on Instagram. And also, if you must step outside like I am right now, please wear a mask, stay safe, and stay healthy, okay? Thanks for watching.